Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, happy new week. I hope that whenever and wherever you are in this glorious world, that you are aware of where you are. Are you in the third dimension, but consciously in the fifth? Are you physically in the fifth? Have you waken up fully in the fifth yet? And if you are aware that you're in the fifth dimension, but you're looking around and you're like, wait a minute, I still live in the same house. I still live on the same street. Still seeing the same faces. The trees are a little brighter. The clouds are prettier. The sky's a different color. But it's kind of much the same. Pretty much. It's exactly the same. Almost. I want you to be aware that in spite of several people I heard on YouTube going, be prepared for the build out. We've got to do the build out. We got to create the fifth dimension. No, we don't. God created it already. It's already here. As is the 7th and the 9th and the 10th and the 8th and the 11th and the 12th. Jesus said, my Father's house has many mansions. That sounded very strange, but when you realize he was talking about mansions, dimensions, that's kind of what he was talking about. When he assumed we knew what he meant, or that someday we would figure it out. Or maybe he didn't say it that way at all. Maybe it was just made up by the people who wrote his story 200 years later after hearing telephone for centuries. You know, he said this, he said that, she did this. Throughout history, and then the history books come. But I believe he probably said that or something similar to it. He probably said my Father's creation has many dimensions in it. And then that became my Father's house has many mansions. So I think it's very egotistical to assume that it was up to us all along to build the fifth dimension with our minds. With our puny little human minds, when we barely just woke up, we barely know what the hell's going on. We haven't even had our coffee yet. Come on. You know, it's like, if we can't create a cup of coffee hot and steaming in our hand, filling the air with its glorious smell, how the hell are we going to build out the fifth dimension? I've been hearing these words from so many people, and I just have been like, build out of what? It's not going to look that much different. Because we still have to interact with the 3D world for a time. And it's going to take a while for everything to fully shift, even when we're physically here. I feel that I'm physically here. I feel like this past weekend was a massive transition for me. I was staring at plasma in the sky going, what the hell? I took 7 pictures of it and they all came out, and I tried to send it to Jude, my near twin flame, and not one of the pictures came out. They all just suddenly turned blank. I had a picture of a UFO, I had a picture of purple plasma, red plasma, blue plasma. The sky has been absolutely electric blue. Right now I'm looking at it and it's purple. Wow, it's very, 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 very purple. I'm looking at it at different angles and it's blowing my mind. There have been people on YouTube who have also been saying, look at the sky, guys. There's something wrong. There's something different. There's more than one light source in the sky. The sun's going down over in that direction, but in the opposite direction, I've got 2 or 3 light sources happening. I took a picture of that last night. I saw it too. And then again, picture didn't turn out. It's getting to be annoying. But this guy, and I can't remember, I'll have to mention his YouTube maybe tomorrow, but he sounds like he's in Bristol. He's covered in tattoos. I saw his arm accidentally in one of the frames. But he takes pictures of the sky, and he takes these time-lapsed photography of the sky from the beginning to the end of the day. And he stopped it and shown videos from 3 years ago from someone in a different country that had almost the identical sky. It's so freaky. It's so freaky. And I'm wondering if he didn't watch this. Well, actually, he said he took the video and then he saw this other video and he's like, whoa, these clouds are weird. And I've had the same clouds in my sky, similar anyway, and I've got a picture of it, and I should go compare to see. I mean, are we all just getting the same clouds? Will my clouds be in your sky a week from now or 3 years from now? Is this truly a matrix we're living in? I believe so. I've been listening to Billy Carson all weekend, so I've been really altered in a strange way by his work and his stuff. I'm looking at these clouds. Are so beautiful. They're just puffy white cotton clouds in a lavender sky. Not really a whole lot of blue that I'm looking at. It's lavender from here. We'll see what happens later. But I've been wondering, am I just going to wake up in what looks like a video game like Tron? Is it just going to be grids and gray, blue, unbuilt out, as people are saying? It's not built out. We have to build it out. And no one explains what that means. There's no explanation. Like, what kind of trip are you on, lady? What does that mean? And I even asked 3 or 4 times, what do you mean by build out? Please explain. Please reiterate what build out means to you. Do you think that nothing exists in the 5th dimension? Makes no sense to me. Because even though we're living in the 5th dimension, we're still having to pull up those who are living in the 3rd, and when they wake up, we've got to pull them up with us. We do. I've been reading the Daniel Scranton messages all morning. I woke up early. I went to bed around 3, got up at 10 with so much energy and so vibrant. I just feel so amazing. And I read a cool email from Jenner Deal, even though she said the Bodhi tree in Los Angeles bookstore is no more. It's been gone a while. I didn't know. I haven't been to LA. I haven't been around it's been over 20 years since I've been to the Bodhi tree. And maybe that's the problem. I should have gone more often. I moved to Northern California and I didn't go to all my usual haunts. I think the Psychic Eyes are still there. I'm not sure. Psychic Eye bookstore. They were always very weird and dark. Like the energy, their carpet, it was always like red and hovely, massive bookstores, but they're hovely. And the Bodhi tree was always light and bright, and it always reminded me of like maybe living in a light-filled bamboo forest, even though it really wasn't a bamboo forest. It was just a bookstore, but it was like a couple stories. It was an old house, turned into this gorgeous bookstore. But the Psychic Eye bookshops around LA were just like old, weird buildings, like from the 60s, but they're flat and boxy. And the staff was always kind of rude and judgmental. You start to talk to them about anything, and they look at you with complete mistrust. They don't want to hear it. They always put you off, have to go in the back for whatever reason, even though nothing was going on back there. It was like always obvious. And so I'm sad to see the Bodhi tree go. The Bodhi tree was such an amazing place. It was one of the most incredible light-filled places, So I wonder what's going to come up in its place. Because, when something leaves your life, something better comes along pretty quickly. I went to a little shop down in San Diego, and I had the same. It was like beautiful and light and bright, and the people running it, they were witches. They were very much into their magic, but the store was very light and bright like the Bodhi tree, but their energy and attitude was very much weird and distrustful, looking at my kids and I like we're gonna judge them any moment, and at the same time they were judging us. It was such a weird, that was in actually it wasn't in San Diego. Where was it? It was in San Diego. It was when we were staying in Solana Beach and we took a drive down the coast. Some of the strangest things have occurred to me in New Age bookstores, and I don't know why. Seems like it should be the most loving, amazing, heartfelt place to go. Like, oh, thank God I'm home. That's the feeling you should get when you walk into a metaphysical bookstore. And so I don't really know why that is, but it's been my experience anyway. Even the very first New Age bookstores I went to in Santa Barbara back in the 80s, the lady was kind of that way in the beginning, and she learned and grew as I was learning and growing, and all the community was. And I think maybe it's when you first open up your yourself to the psychic stuff. Oh, I just looked up and there's a snake cloud. It's like normal puffy clouds and then just one like continuous S. It looks like two S's on top of each other. I don't know if it's a dragon. Oh, now it has like a dragon head. So very wispy, like a wispy dark cloud. It's so cute. Anyway, I don't know. I feel like when you start going through the dark night of the soul and you start realizing all the things that were before and all the things that are before you, and it feels so daunting at first when you first wake up. And then you start, then you pledge your life to it. And you can't help it. I mean, you start reading the books, you start going to the lectures, you start hearing the workshops online, you listen to the podcasts like mine, you do all kinds of stuff, to wake up more. You just get voracious. Like you woke up from a long slumber and you're hungry. You're really hungry for it. And I think that some of the people that opened up the bookshops early on, they saw the trend coming. The wave was coming. At that point, the tide was only around their ankles. They didn't realize it was a tsunami. And the spirituality, the movement, the New Age movement, it's really old age information, but it's a New Age movement, and it's been coming for decades now. Over 30 years. I mean, longer even. When you look at the Spiritist movement of 162 years ago. And tonight we will be reading, again, from the Spirits book by Allan Kardec. But when you look at all this, and I think that might be why that you get that weird, sometimes that heavily cave-like energy and the judgmental thing, probably because the people opening the stores are getting it from their families, and they haven't gotten to the point at which they're purging the nonsense from them, and they haven't accepted themselves fully, so they expect everyone else won't either. And I wanted you to keep all that in mind, whether it's a bookstore or just a person next door who are going through all this brand new awakening. on some level, we all have the information, and I can't remember the number now, but Billy Carson, in his lecture on Gaia this past 2 weeks from the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles, he was saying that they can actually code our DNA with books now, with information in our DNA, by transferring everything into binary code, zeros and ones, and it can be transferred and downloaded into our DNA, and that downloads are real, uploads are real, all of that is real, and that the amount of data that we can capture and hold in our DNA is the exact number of how many years the universe has been around. So literally, the knowledge of the universe is physically inside you. You know, and I've been hearing that since the 80s. Oh, the knowledge of the universe is inside you. And I'm like, really? Because why did I just get a B on this exam then? You know? I always thought, like, this is probably not true. Maybe it's accessible somehow, and you have to learn how to telepath with the beings that work in the universe library. You know, maybe it's not actually inside me. Like, maybe that's a metaphor. But after hearing Billy Carson talk about it, I'm like, you know, funny enough, it's not a metaphor. Just like, funny enough, the word slaying your dragons probably means that back in the day there was an animal that was a dragon and people were afraid of, so they either gave sacrifices to it or they slayed it. I remember a past life where I was almost sacrificed to a dragon because I was a virgin, and I immediately found my boyfriend and said, I don't care if we're married or not, let's do it, because then they can't sacrifice me to the dragon. How dare they think I'm food for some reptile that flies, you know? I have a weird memory. I had a weird memory about that. I just, you know, it was like, I don't even know what time, medieval times, probably before that even. I remember wearing clothes like what you would see on Xena Warrior Princess, you know, in the among the villager people. You know? Just, it's crazy. So all of the knowledge of the universe literally is inside your DNA right now. You just have to learn how to unlock it. And our quote-unquote junk DNA, those are the keys to unlock and unravel it. We are literally star-born and earth-bound, as my friend Amber always said. And I think she got that from Carl Sagan, God rest both of their souls. But I've been reading Daniel Scranton all morning too, so I was going to read a couple of the channelings that Daniel Scranton has done with the Arcturian Council over the past week. And if you want to receive these in your email, you have to go to danielscranton.com. If you want to listen to him on YouTube, you can. But his channeling is a little strange. It comes out in such a weird voice that's hard for me to... I'm just watching him and I'm hearing the voice, and I'm not making connection as to what each individual word is that he's saying in regards to the sentence or the paragraph or the entire meaning of it. I'm just like, oh, this is so interesting the way he channels. He's channeling with the Arcturian voice or voices, or it's like one voice, but it's very strange and high-pitched. It's hard for me to get the meaning of it, so he offers several different ways in which you can hear his messages or read them so that you get the actual message and you're not distracted by the strangeness of how the message is delivered, because he has a physical channel, whereas I am just a telepath channel. But okay. And by the way, we can connect our junk DNA, and you should know this. You can connect your junk DNA by meditating, by praying, by eating the right foods, including high vibrational fruits and vegetables. It does help. It's awesome. It's an awesome way to do it. You know, you don't have to eliminate meat entirely, as Billy Carson was saying. Don't panic. Just go meat free for a week or two. Get yourself up there. If you're not physically in the fifth dimension, you can get there. You know, just eat very high vibrational foods and, you know, have high vibrational habits. You know, just do it temporarily. Say, I'm going to do it for this week. We'll see what happens after that. So now I'm looking at clouds that look like what this guy in Bristol, I want to say he lives in Bristol. His accent, it's almost unmistakable. But I'm looking at this going, yeah, you know, these clouds are starting to look a little bit like what his, and I wonder, you know, with the observer effect and the double slit experiment in quantum mechanics, you can look up double slit experiment. I mean, you know, I saw his clouds and I thought those were weird, and I took a note of them mentally, and now my clouds look like that. So did I expect that on some level to occur here? Maybe I did. Maybe I did. Now I'm looking at it. You know, whatever you expect will appear in your field. Remember that. Expect miracles. Also, what you focus on expands. Don't think of your butt. Don't think of your tummy. Think of the vast library of your mind instead. Think about your connection to the fifth dimension and your love for others. Focus on the love. All right. So, all right. We're going to get into this. Daniel Scranton, this was an interesting one. The name of this article is, Are You Better Off Being Awake? This is from the 9th Dimensional Arcturian Council. Greetings, we are the Arcturian Council. We are pleased to connect with all of you. We have been very interested in how you would handle the transition from being third dimensional beings to fifth dimensional beings. We knew that many of you would become aware of this shift in consciousness that we are all experiencing, but we did not know whether being awake would benefit you or whether remaining asleep would be the easier path. And now that we have been observing those of you who are awake long enough, we can say that it is by a very narrow margin that you are having an easier and more joyous time with the shift. The reason why it is only a very narrow margin is because of the responsibility that you feel and because of the roles you have taken on. As empaths and healers, you often take on the issues and energies of those that you are there in service to. As awakened beings who understand that you are shifting in consciousness, you are less likely to drown your emotions with drugs and alcohol. And as beings of service, you often feel as though you should be doing more to assist in the shifting of the collective consciousness. However, what makes the journey more joyous and easier on you is that you have far less doubt and much more of that sense of knowing about where you're going and what you're doing at this time. You are less worried about death than the average person who is unawakened. So, you have chosen a slightly more joyous and easier path than most humans. And you could make it much more joyous and easier if you could just let go of the guilt that you often feel for not being better at what you do. If you could take some of the pressure off of yourselves, you could have much more fun along the way. If you could practice the mantra of, I'm doing the best I can, more often, you could release some of the weight off your shoulders. You are there to lead the rest of humanity in this shift in consciousness, but you are also there to enjoy the journey. And so sometimes that means feeling less responsible and looking for ways that you can experience more of the joy, more of the excitement, and more of the appreciation for this beautiful journey that you are all on together. We know that you sometimes want to put your heads down and forge ahead, and that's why we will keep encouraging you to sit back, relax, put your feet up, and let some of your helpers do the heavy lifting. We are the Arcturian Council, and we have enjoyed connecting with you. So, I thought that was very telling, isn't it? I see it. I feel it in myself even, that I feel so responsible. I'm doing my show, and every day I'm like, how can I do my show better? Maybe I'm not doing it enough. Maybe I'm not 100% where I need to be, or maybe I'm talking about the wrong topics in the introductions. Maybe I'm not doing a good enough job, right? And how can I get people to awaken more, and how can I help those that are brand new, newly awake? I know that I repeat myself sometimes on my show, like things I said last year, I'm now saying again. I'm repeating it, but in a different or new way. Some of it you all needed to be reminded of. Some of it, it's for the new ones coming in. I have a lot more new people than I did before. And so welcome. Bienvenue. Bienvenidos. Thank you. So, but I catch myself being guilty of that too. I'm not doing enough, gotta do more. And I asked Prime Creator the other day about it. I said, hey, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. What am I going to do? How am I going to get to where I need to be by October? What am I going to do? When my son turns 18 and I run out of money, from death benefits that I have, what am I going to do? And God said, just keep doing what you're doing. I'm like, but I'm not doing good enough. And God says, yes, you are. This is all you need to do, is do this. So for me to read this to you guys, I'm reading it as much to myself. So I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I am doing enough, and I'm doing the best that I can. And that's all we can do. Like Adam Inspired says, at least we try. At least we try. So I'm going to read the one that just came down the pike today. This one happened 1 hour ago. You guys, oh my God, OMG. Mass awakenings are coming. I just wrote those 4 words about the same time this was released. I had just got done. I just finished typing these words to Jenner just like an hour ago or so. And I hadn't seen this. I hadn't been on my regular email. I was typing to her on metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com. And it's absolutely unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Mass awakenings are coming. I just said, I feel it in my bones. Mass awakenings are coming. And I've said it to you guys that I feel it. I feel it in my bones. As I looked up a minute ago, I saw a J in the cloud. Now I see a cherub with wings, a very wispy cherub with wings. Yesterday when I was taking pictures that didn't turn out to Jude, I saw a circle with a star in it, like the Self-Realization Fellowship symbol, or Pentacles symbol. I've seen some cool things, and that chair was really neat. I wanted to share that with you. If I share this with you and it means something to you. Now, when I was watching that guy's cloud video, just yesterday. It was actually weird because in his sky, the letter J keeps appearing and the letter X also appeared. Now, I've had the letter X over here a couple times. It's so strange when that happens. It's like random out of nowhere, the letter X. Now I'm seeing like a moon and a crescent moon on its back with a butterfly coming out of it. Just saw that. So that means something to some of you. I love doing these cloud readings. The cloud readings are incredible. There's also the number 3. Some of you have been asking when, how many days, how many weeks, how many hours it will be before something happens. The letter 3 just occurred. How many minutes will it be till my pizza's done? I don't know. So, yeah, I just got letter 3. It's very divinatory today. Too bad I don't have any cloud readings to do for anyone. There's another 3 in the sky, so that's the second 3. I'm waiting for the third 3 to come. Yeah, it's starting to form now. 3 3s, 333. So look that up in angel numbers. It means something to you, especially if you've seen that recently. But okay, woo! Now my eyes adjust to the light because I was staring outside. The sun here is so bright. It's so incredibly bright. Even though we have this massive cloud cover today, it's so bright still. Okay. Mass awakenings are coming. The 9th Dimensional Arcturian Council, channeled by Daniel Scranton. Greetings, we are the Arcturian Council. We are pleased to connect with all of you. We have been exploring all of the various timelines that you have in front of you for the coming weeks and months, and we see all of the different ways that you have of initiating a mass awakening of consciousness on your world. We know that those of you who are awake have been waiting for friends, co-workers, relatives, and neighbors to awaken so that you could relate better to the people in your lives. We know that these mass awakenings are inevitable, and we also see how you are all making them happen sooner rather than later through the summoning that you have done. You have been asking for more connection, more contact with your fellow humans, and the result is that several new timelines have been created to bring about these massive awakening experiences for humanity. Now, of course, people are awakening every single day to the truth of who they really are as source energy beings. People are coming to recognize that they are ascending their consciousness, and they will continue, but there will also be these spikes. There will also be these moments where you have something that awakens more individuals than on an average day there on planet Earth. And as you experience these mass awakenings from the sidelines, so to speak, you will be called upon to help. You who have always been a bit weird and out there with your beliefs will be the ones that the people in your lives turn to for help. And that will be satisfying on many levels. Remember that in those moments, what people really need is to feel what they are feeling. They don't need more information. They don't need to go down the rabbit hole that so many newly awakened people go down. They don't need to accept everything that you accept to be true to be the real reality. They will need your support through the emotional purging that comes when someone awakens and begins shedding the layers of toxic beliefs, long-held and unfelt negative emotions, and so much more. You will be there for them because this is something you have wanted to see for so long. and you will continue to create new probabilities for how these mass awakenings will occur. You will do so because you are conscious and deliberate creator beings. We are the Arcturian Council, and we have enjoyed connecting with you. So I don't know about you guys, but that gave me the chills. Things that they said. Daniel doesn't know me. I don't think he listens to my show. But I've always said that I've been the weird one, the one that's out there. Those are the exact words I used even last year to describe myself. I think I did a show called Are You the Black Sheep of Your Family? You know? And I probably said those exact words. You know? It's like I've been aware, you know, of being that odd one. And, you know, people just like, they'll look at my postings on Facebook when I post what I'm doing, what I'm, you know, what my show is or whatnot. And they just don't respond. They don't talk to me. They don't ask me anything. I could see that they look at it on my feed. I could see that sometimes it's only 3 people, sometimes it's 25 people. They look at it, but they don't respond. The sleeping ones are still sleeping. I'm sure they're praying for my, I don't know, for me to get better mentally. I'm clearly insane, right? Wisdom to the foolish is absolute foolishness. You know, you cast your pearls before swine, they will be trampled upon. But I wonder how many of those people are going to turn around and go, wait a minute, you've been talking about this stuff for like, you know, years. What? Wait, let's talk about that again, you know? But the people who are going to awaken to who they really are, they're going to be angry at religion. That's one of the first things that people go through. Remember what you went through? Do you guys remember what it was like? What was the first thing that happened to you? What was the first thing that happened? Were you thrilled to be Catholic, or were you like, oh my God, these bastards? Because I know I was like, oh my God, these bastards. That was me, for sure. For me, it was not even a little bit a happy feeling to realize that they were constantly keeping us in the dark for everything. And not even the Catholic Church for me, because also the Lutheran Church, all the churches, period. All the churches, period. That was the first thing. So be prepared. You know, you're overly religious zealot. You know, your zany relatives who are just so much into the Bible thumping. When they wake up, oh my God, all hell's going to break loose for them. They're going to question everything. You know, don't be so quick to point out that Jesus was a wizard. You know, he used a magic wand and he did some magic. Don't be so quick to point it out. You know, just let them come to their own conclusions, you know, like, you know, the people that were telling you you're gonna go to hell unless you're a Christian, you know, I always bite my tongue. Half the time I'll say, well, good, I'll be in hell with Jesus the Jew. But I mean, you say you're a true follower. If you're a true follower, why are you a Christian? Why don't you follow in his footsteps and really be Jewish, right? That's always been one of my things. It's crazy, though. I mean, it's really, it's one of those crazy things for me, just to watch it as it unfolds. And then I've seen some of my friends who were spiritual, new aging, kind of drifting, and then suddenly they turned to Christianity. They found that anchor that they were looking for. You know, and I wonder, is that an anchor on your waist keeping you in a specific spot? Or is it an anchor around your neck where you're going to drown to the truth of what's actually happening above the surface? You know, it could be either way. You know, for some people, they go into a religion and then they find the mystical part of it, and then they rise up. You know, like many monks and nuns have actually become spiritually advanced and enlightened within the confines of the church. Like they somehow took it to that ecstatic state of joy, you know, in the fifth dimension. Now, when Jesus ascended, it literally says in the Bible, he ascended, and that's what we are all doing now, right? We are ascending. And so as we're ascending, did you really believe it's going to be a whole nother dimension without interaction? Because when Jesus ascended, he still interacted with his disciples. They didn't recognize him at first. His energy had shifted because he had ascended, but they still could see him. They just saw him as someone different at first. It wasn't 100%, you know, like they weren't registering yet. They thought he had died. They saw him die. Supposedly, as the story goes. But I don't know, guys. I just be gentle with those newly awakened ones. Don't say, aha, I told you so. Don't say I told you so to those guys. You know, they don't need that. They need your emotional support as they go, oh my God, they've been trying to keep us down for so long. The church this and the church that. You could go, yep. Why do you suppose I stopped being a Christian 35 years ago? Why do you suppose? Did you think I was just trying to be a rebel and hate everything you stand for? Obviously, that's not the case. Obviously, I saw something there that I did not like, and I left. And I waited for you to become awakened to that knowledge as well. You know? So there it is. All right. Well, I'm going to get into the spaceweather.com. Solar wind speed 400.2 kilometers per second. That seems quite a bit slower than it was last week. So call off the supernova watch. Betelgeuse is brightening again. Thank God. They did, you know, predict the turnaround, and now it is finally back. They're looking at the light curve. Betelgeuse hit bottom on the week of February 7th through the 13th. And the fainting episode is over. Ed Guinan of Villanova University says Betelgeuse has definitely stopped dimming and is starting to slowly brighten again. So thank God. I mean, you know, we already had that one. My star from where I'm originally from, I have a feeling, Antares. That made me very sad. And then to see a Betelgeuse go, that would have made me sad as well. All right, so sunspots, guys. 22 days without a sunspot we've had. That is absolutely crazy. Our neutron counts are still very high. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide from the neutron counts, the cosmic radiation. It's just, there's nothing we can do about it. There are absolutely no deep coronal holes on the Earth side of the sun right now. Remember last week on Friday I reported the energy will be hitting us tomorrow as far as feeling the solar winds. So we will have more symptoms, more energy more portal, the portal of the sun will send us more. We only had 2 fireballs today. Actually, they haven't reported for today. It's from yesterday. Only 2 over the United States. I don't know the rest, the rest of the world, what happened. I don't know why they don't monitor the whole planet. They circled the planet. They sure as hell could monitor the whole thing, but okay. Why they're not, I don't know. But that seems to be really all what's going on. There is more complaints on spaceweather.com about Starlink's. Their dark satellite is actually not so dark. So they were able to film a passage of a group of Starlink satellites again, and the dark sat is one of the brightest. It's just not working. They were trying to make it so people could still photograph the heavens without a bunch of satellites in the way. But, apparently it's not possible. So I'm waiting now for the websites to load for the Schumann Resonance. I don't know why it wasn't loading before. Okay, let's see where we're having it. As far as the Schumann Resonance of disclosurenews.it, they are only reporting power 10. I'm not going to read the other comments on it because power 10 is not a whole lot to sneeze about. Not a lot going on. I read an article today about how people were living here in Ecuador and they started to get restless, and they were very curious about Europe, and they'd been there when they were young. So they went over to Europe and tried to live there. They tried to live in Italy, a couple different places in Italy. They tried to live in Spain, in Malaga. And while they liked being there, it was constantly complaining. Everyone was constantly complaining about the immigrant problem. And even in TV shows I watch from Europe, there's always a constant complaint of the immigrant problem. Even in the shows, it's like the politics of that have gotten into just TV shows have nothing to do with that. They have nothing to do with politics or anything. And I've noticed that that's been kind of a thing, an ongoing complaint. So, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm in the right place, but I have also had the same thoughts. Like, maybe I should move to Italy. Maybe I should move to Spain. And I feel like it's not going to be the same, though. But I might go traveling. If any of you are in Europe, maybe I'll someday go over there in a year or so, and I'll go visit you. Maybe I could do a show. We could sit in a cafe together, and I'll do a show from your hometown, whether you're in Germany or Paris or France, anywhere. Maybe when I start traveling again, I'll keep doing the show. But I've been thinking about it. Like, maybe I will. If everything goes right, and if we have as many mass awakenings as possible, I will end up with a lot of listeners. And when that happens, I will be able to afford traveling, and then I'll come visit you guys. So let me know if that's something you'd like, in the future, when I get to that point, let me know. If you want to be on the show live like that, it will be super fun. All right, now I've gotten to heartmath.org, looking at the peaks over the past 2 days. The biggest thing I've seen was happened in Honolulu on the 17th, on the 21st, on Friday at 5 o'clock in the evening, 1700 hour, they reached a peak of 392. And then they crawled all the way back down to 183 on the 22nd on Saturday. And then on Sunday they climbed up to 550. And then the other big news in the opposite direction would be that Hafuf, Saudi Arabia, again is back down to 0 starting Saturday at 5 a.m. All right, so we're going to go ahead and look at what's going on with the Schumann Resonance for 6 places on Earth today. All right, so California started off at midnight at 44. Yay, nice, good master number there. 44 hertz frequency on the Schumann Resonance scale. At midnight, by 5 a.m., California was down to 43. Not a huge leap. Hafuf, Saudi Arabia, 0 all the way across the board. Lithuania started off at 130 hertz frequency, 130. And that was at midnight. And at 5 a.m., they went down to... Oh, waiting for that to load. Oh my goodness, what is going on with this thing? Suddenly it's not loading and I don't know why. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. It just suddenly wouldn't load. Okay, I had to redo the whole thing. Okay, so Lithuania started off at 130 and went down by 5 a.m. to 123 hertz frequency. And at midnight, Alberta, Canada was at 54 hertz frequency. And by 5 a.m., they were at 55, a nice master number. I like to see that. I feel like we're on the right ascension path when I see numbers like this. And Northland, New Zealand started off at 76 hertz frequency at midnight. And by 5 a.m., they were at 77, another nice master number by 5 a.m. Hulului, South Africa, they've been the winner and the outrunner quite a bit in these last few months. They started off at midnight at 476 hertz frequency, and by 5 a.m. they were down to 404 hertz frequency. That is extremely significant. I almost half expect if we went to Hulului tomorrow, it would be a big crystal city. It's like it won't even be there, just be a big hole. But then our higher vision will see just this beautiful crystal city, people living in harmony. I hope that's true. It's probably not true, but it's probably just like it was before, where people are quite a bit more joyous. I hope. It makes me very curious about Hulului, though, to be honest. I wonder what people are feeling. Are they having massive shifts in consciousness because such a high vibrational frequency is occurring there? I'd like to know. If you're from Hulului, please let me know what's going on over there. And if you're in Africa, go over there, in South Africa, I mean. If you go over there and check out Hulului, like, what is happening? I have a friend who lives in South Africa. I should ask him if he is anywhere near that town, city, or village. I don't even know how big Hulului is, but I want to look it up. Maybe tomorrow I'll have information about that for you guys. All right, in A Course in Miracles, found at acim.org, we're on lesson 240. And this is it. Fear is not justified in any form. Yes, that's a really good one. I'm going to reread it. Fear is not justified in any form. Fear is deception. It attests that you have seen yourself as you could never be, and therefore look upon a world which is impossible. Not one thing in this world is true. It does not matter what the form in which it may appear. It witnesses but to your own illusions of yourself. Let us not be deceived today. We are the sons of God. There is no fear in us, for we are each a part of love itself. How foolish are our fears? Would you allow your son to suffer? Give us faith today to recognize your son and set him free. Let us forgive him in your name, that we may understand his holiness and feel the love for him, which is your own as well. Fear is not justified in any form. Again, that is the Foundation for Inner Peace, A Course in Miracles lesson 240. You can go get a free app on your Google Play Store or your iTunes Store. That was a really powerful one, right? there's still some words in there that are religious-y, but this is a really good place to start if your relatives are very religious and then they wake up and they're like, after you allow them to process and feel their feelings and figure some stuff out, after they start that angry path towards separating from the church, maybe you might want to say, hey, you know what? Go check out A Course in Miracles. After they buy the whole channeling thing and they understand that it's real and true and happens, you might want to let them know about this one gently, but not for months yet, okay? We're months out from suggesting A Course in Miracles, but when they're ready for it, it's going to be a lifesaver for them. So have compassion and tell people about A Course in Miracles, acim.org, because it's going to help a lot of people. All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, we are going to be reading the next installment of the Spirits book by Allan Kardec, which was published in Paris, France in 1862. Right after this message. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's high time you did. It is the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. First of all, it's absolutely free. Second of all, they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. You guys have known that I've been doing this for 8 months using the anchor.fm app right on my cell phone, and I have done it everywhere, right? I have recorded this in my living room, my bedroom, little cafes in Quito, Ecuador, all over Cuenca. It's so absolutely easy to make your podcast, and editing is just a snap. Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you, and it took me about 2.5 months to become syndicated, and now I'm available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more, and so can you. You can make money from your podcast also, and there's no minimum requirement. You get paid from your very first listener. It is everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. So please, if you are interested in making a podcast of your very own, do not hesitate to start with Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. All right, guys, over the break, I saw a very curvy looking J in the clouds again, and inside the curved part of the J was a 5-pointed star, almost like a Muslim symbol, but instead of the crescent moon, it was a J. I don't know if that was meant for me specifically. I always thought my twin flame, his name must begin with a J. I know my two near twins are Jeremy and Jude. They both begin with J, but they were my near twin, not my actual twin flame. So very strange. I also looked up and saw, right when I started to record this, a really, really beautiful eyeball. Clouds with like the white eyeball behind and then the wispy dark over. It looked like a perfect eyeball of like what I can only imagine is a goddess. She had a very beautiful eye. I didn't see any other facial features. But sometimes I do look up, and earlier I did see 2 eyes, but there were snake eyes, and the clouds all around it looked just like a serpent. The whole thing. But it was smiling. So it was a positive serpent, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, man, these clouds are really divinatory, and now low on the horizon, it's very, very pale lavender, and it's going to be blue. and it is now starting to thunder very loudly, and we might get to hear some lightning strikes and thunder as it approaches while I'm reading the Spirits book by Allan Kardec. Now remember, this is a controversial book, and my higher guidance said 92% of it is accurate. It's only as accurate as the people, the channels involved, as well as Allan Kardec himself, to see where he was at alignment-wise with his true self and higher purpose. He was pretty much up there, but he was attracting the spirits who only had 92% of the information, maybe. I'm not saying that I have 100% of the information myself, but I just want you guys to keep an open mind to the information, but also keep your discernment about you as we get through the next section of questions. We are on page 324 out of 429. That means we have quite a ways to go yet. I'm sure I'll be reading this book another couple months, probably. We'll see how fast we get through it, though. We left off at question 800, and that's where we will begin now. So, question 800 is this: is it not to be feared that Spiritism may fail to triumph over the carelessness of men and their attachment to material things? The spirits say, to suppose that any cause could transform mankind as by enchantment would show a very superficial knowledge of human nature. Ideas are modified little by little according to the differences of individual character, and several generations are needed for the complete effacing of old habits. The transformation of mankind can therefore only be effected in the course of time, gradually, and by the contagion of example. With each new generation, a part of the veil is melted away. Spiritism is come to dissipate it entirely. But, meantime, if it should do no more than cure a man of a single defect, it would have led him to take a step forward, and would thus have done him great good, for the taking of this first step will render all his subsequent steps easier. Question 801. Why have not spirits taught from the earliest times what they are teaching at the present day? And the spirits say, you do not teach to children what you teach to adults, and you do not give to a newborn babe the food which he could not digest. There is a time for all things. Spirits have taught many things that men have not understood or have perverted, but that they are now capable of understanding aright. Through their teaching in the past, however incomplete, they have prepared the ground to receive the seed, which is now about to fructify. I like that word, fructify. I have never heard that in my life. Fructify me. We can make a song. Okay. Fructify. So, isn't that funny that says their teaching in the past, however incomplete, prepared the ground to receive the seed? It's basically ready to bear fruit. And indeed, the same is the case with these spirits 162 years ago, preparing the way for us now, and now that we have more greater expanse of knowledge. I just find this very, very fascinating. I hope you guys do too. All right. Question 802. Since Spiritism is to mark a progress on the part of the human race, why do not spirits hasten this progress by manifestations so general and so patent as to carry conviction to the most incredulous? And spirits say, you are always wanting miracles, but God sows miracles by handfuls under your feet. and yet you still have men who deny their existence. Did Christ himself convince his contemporaries by the prodigies he accomplished? Do you not see men at this day denying the most evident of facts, though occurring under their very eyes? Have you not among you some who say that they would not believe even though they saw? No, it is not it is not by prodigies that God wills to bring men back to the truth. He wills in his goodness to leave to them the merit of convincing themselves through the exercise of their reason. All right, now we're to the next chapter. Whew, we're clipping right along today. This is cool. Chapter 9, or IX in Roman numerals. And then below that's in Roman numerals VIII, 8, the law of equality. Wow, and we're still struggling today, 162 years later, with legal equality for women. Unbelievable, right? All right, so under the headings is 1, natural equality, 2, inequality of aptitudes, 3, social inequalities, 4, inequality of riches. Yeah, we're still struggling with that one too, right? And number 5, trails of riches and of poverty. 6, equality of rights of men and of women. Holding my hand up in solidarity right now. Yes. 7, equality in death. Wait, what? I hope we get to that one today because this sounds very interesting. Equality in death? Wow. Natural equality. 803. Are all men equal in the sight of God? The spirits say yes, and all tend towards the same goal, and God has made his laws for the equal good of all. You often say the sun shines for all, and in saying this, you enunciate a truth much broader and a more general application than you think. Okay, guys, I've never read this book before. I read it right now for the very first time to you guys. 2 times in the past year, I have said, at least 2 times, that the sun shines on all of us equally. Oh my God, that is something that hit me. It struck me, maybe 20 years ago. Actually, no. Well, 15 years ago. About 2005, 2006, because I had a business and a lot of my people did not believe in themselves, and I had to counsel them on self-belief. And when I did that, I came up with an example that I prayed for, and God gave me this exact example. He said, the sun shines equally upon all men, and God loves everyone equally. If you do not love yourself equally to how you love others, or you don't feel like you are deemed worthy enough to be loved, you are second-guessing God's voice. You're second-guessing God's will. And how dare you? That is the biggest, most gravest sin, not to love yourself as God loves you, by questioning God's feelings or God's, desires. By thinking that you're not even worthy of anything, and yet God deemed you worthy enough to be here. Why are you second-guessing God? Stop second-guessing God and get the hell out there. And know your equality. Know your worth. Know your value. You don't need your value and quality and worth to come from other human beings. You need it to come from God himself. He deemed you worthy enough to live now. And so therefore you have access to everything equally as other people. And if you do not, you've got to work for it. You've got to pull it to yourself using the power of your mind as a co-creator of this universe. That's the kind of thing I used to tell my people. That blows my mind that this is in the book. Oh my God, the sun shines for all. I did not read this before. 15 years ago, I didn't even know about this book. Literally, I heard about this book when I watched Kardec on Netflix a couple months ago. And this line was not in the movie, The Sunshine is for All. I'm blown away by now. Okay. Allan Kardec added his 1 cent worth here. He says, all men are subjected to the action of the same natural laws. All are born in the same state of weakness and are subject to the same sufferings. And the body of the rich is destroyed like that of the poor. God has not given any man any natural superiority in regard either to birth or to death. All are equal in his sight. So, 162 years ago, even in Paris, which was a very fashionable, forward-thinking city, there's still all of this men equal, he, his, a lot of male language here. So take it with a grain of salt. Consider the time, the time of this. When they say, are all men equal? I don't think that women are the bastard, illegitimate children of God, and we're not getting to talk about them. I think that men includes men and women. Coming back to the idea that women are created from a bone inside of Adam's rib. Moving right along, stopping the feminist diatribe now, but, like, what would it take for us to be seen as equal? Why can't you just say human? Something, non-binary. Outside the ones and the zeros. Women being the zeros, men being the ones for obvious reasons. Why? Okay. Inequality of aptitudes. Question 804. Why has God not given the same aptitudes to all men? And the spirits say, all spirits have been created equal by God, but some of them have lived more and others less, and have consequently acquired more or less development in their past existences. The difference between them lies in their various degrees of experience and in the training of their will, which constitutes their freedom, and in virtue of which some improve themselves more rapidly, hence the diversity of aptitudes that you see around you. This medley of aptitudes is necessary in order that every man may concur in working out the designs of providence within the limits of the development of his physical and intellectual strength. What one cannot do, another does, and thus each contributes his share of usefulness to the general work. Besides, all the words of the universe being united by solidarity, it is necessary that the inhabitants of the higher worlds, most of which were created before yours, should come and dwell in it, in order to set you an example. Question 805. Does a spirit, in passing from a higher world to a lower one, preserve in their integrity the faculties he had previously acquired? The spirits say, yes, we have told you already that a spirit who has progressed cannot again fall back. He may choose in a spirit state a corporeal envelope more benumbing, or a position more precarious than those he quits. But all this is so combined as to teach him some new lesson, and thus to aid his future progress. And his 2 cents there, he adds, the diversity of human aptitudes is thus seen to be the result not of any diversity in the creation of men, but of the various degrees of advancement attained to by the spirits who are incarnated in them. God, then, has not created an inequality of human faculties, but he has permitted spirits of different degrees of development to be thus brought into contact with each other in order that the more forward may aid the more backward, and also in order that all men having need of another's help may arrive at the practical comprehension of the law of charity that is destined to unite them. All right, here's a section called Social Inequalities. Question 806. Is the inequality of social conditions a law of nature? And the spirits say, no, it is the work of man, not of God. And follow-up question is, will this inequality eventually disappear? And the spirits say, nothing is eternal but the laws of God. Do you not see that it is being effaced little by little every day? Your present inequalities will disappear with the disappearance of pride and selfishness. The only inequality that will remain is that of desert. A day will come when the members of the great family of God will no longer regard themselves as being of blood more or less pure. They will know that it is only the spirit that is more or less pure, and that this does not depend on social position. Question 807. What is to be thought of those who abuse the superiority of their social position by oppressing the weak to their own profit? The spirits say they deserve to be anathematized. Anathematized? What does that mean? Oh my God, I always have more questions than I end a reading here. They deserve to be anathematized. Sad will be their fate, for they will be oppressed in their turn, and they will be reborn into an existence in which they will endure all that they have caused to be endured. There's a special actress I have in my mind. When I read that, it just kind of pissed me off, but some of you have heard me. Moving right along. Inequality of riches is the next section. Question 808. Is not the inequality of riches a result of the inequality of faculties, which gives to some persons more means of acquiring than are possessed by others? The spirits say yes and no. And knavery and robbery, what do you say of them? And Allan Kardec's follow-up question is, but hereditary riches are not the fruit of evil passions? And the spirits say, how do you know that? Go back to their source and you'll see whether it is always pure. How do you know whether they were not in the beginning the fruit of a spoliation or an injustice? But without speaking of their origin, which may have been bad, do you think that the hankering after wealth, even when most honestly acquired, the secret longings to possess it more quickly, are laudable sentiments? These are what God judges, and his judgment is often more severe than that of men. See, this is one of those things, guys. I mean, you could read that, and that's where those spirits were at when they said those words. But then when you go to The Science of Getting Rich, which I did read last year, if you are just joining us, you could go back and see, I think it was on Saturdays, I read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. And that book says it's your right and your duty to get rich, and you have to, so that you can give more wealth, redistribute it to people in need. You know, if you have very little, you can give but little, but if you have more and you're capable of using more, then you should give more to the people. You know, and yeah, am I seeking after wealth? No, I don't know. I want to have a house. Is that wealth? Maybe. Houses are expensive. You know, I'm not seeking after, you know, gold and jewels dripping from every orifice or whatever the hell. Okay, that's not where the word gold. See, I don't even know. I don't wear jewelry that much. Yeah, the jewelry I do wear, I wear native jewelry, and I help the native people. You know, they're selling their wares. I know that dollar might be a difference between eating rice and not eating rice in some cases. So, I don't know. I mean, I have issue with this particular answer. I think if you're going after wealth and possessions so that you can get one over on your neighbors, yes, that will be judged harshly. But if you're trying to get ahead financially and you want wealth for yourself so that you can feel safe and secure, your family members are safe and secure, now you could spend your days working on charities, which is a lot of wealthy people actually do that. It's not always for tax purposes, that is included in many cases, but you don't see poor people donating wings to hospitals for the research of children's cancer. You don't see people that make $10 an hour doing that because they can't. But you do see wealthy people doing that because they have the money, the means, and they can. They could have saved the money for themselves, but they didn't. They gave. Now, I don't know, 162 years ago, it seems to me that the idea of charity and giving wasn't as much of a thing. It might have only been a brand new seedling of an idea at that point. So back then, if you want to create riches to create riches, I could see where that would be maybe an issue. You just want to get ahead, no one wants to be behind. But the money system is broken. It's a Babylon money slave system. You've heard many people talk about this. I know I have. I don't know. So I have a hard time with this. I kind of feel like we're not going to be judged harshly if we go out of our way to become millionaires and then turn around and give 90% away to charity. There are people that have that as their end goal, and there are people that T. Harv Eker has talked about. There was a person he knew who came from nothing, built himself up, and he started making millions and millions every month, and he has a full-time job now giving away 90% of his wealth every month to charities. He finds schools and centers for diseases or health, like medical stuff. He just every month, it's a brand new chore to find who to redistribute his wealth, and he lives on 10%, and he lives very meagerly. Do you think that Warren Buffett is going to be judged harshly by God when he still lives in the same $18,000 house that he paid for like in the 60s, and he's up until very recently was still wearing the threadbare polyester suits that he had in the 70s? He actually just gave away a huge chunk of his wealth, like 90%. He didn't need it, and he gave it away to charity. Do you think God's going to be like, you're evil because you had money? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, how can someone like that be evil? There's a lot of people, even people who pinched their pennies and lived very meagerly, and then when they died, $100,000 went to charity. And it's like, yeah, but Granny said she couldn't afford a new shawl. How did she have all this money? Because every penny she had went to charity after her death. There's a lot of good people in the world like that. And a lot of people acquire wealth so that they can redistribute it and help others. I want to have a business. I want to have several businesses here in Cuenca that will help embolden the community and help people and also provide jobs. That's one of my goals, is to get that to that level where I can actually help the people here, because then I'm going to be helping Venezuelan refugees. I'm going to be helping the local Ecuadorians. It's like there's a job shortage. I would like to create businesses that need people to work and will pay them a living wage. I mean, does that make me an evil person because I want that? I can't do it without money. I don't know. It's like, I do take issue with this. All right. Let's continue along this line of questioning with question 809. If a fortune has been ill-gotten in the beginning, are those who subsequently inherit it responsible for this? And the spirits say, most certainly they are not responsible for the wrong that may have been done by others, and of which they may be altogether ignorant. But you must understand that a fortune is often sent to such and such an individual for the sole purpose of giving him the opportunity of repairing an injustice. Happy for him if he comprehends this. If he does it in the name of him who committed the injustice, the reparation will be counted to both of them. For it is often the latter who has endeavored to bring it about. Well, that's good news. Question 810. We may, without infringing legality, dispose of property more or less equitably. Are we held responsible after death for the disposition we have made of it? And the answer is, every seed bears its fruit. The fruit of good deeds is sweet. That of others is always bitter. Always remember that. That just sounded like such a poo-poo answer. Let's just put you off. Poo-poo-poo. Pew, pew, pew. If you're a Star Wars fan, that might make more sense. Question 811. Is an absolute equality of riches possible? And has it ever existed? And the answer is no, it is not possible. The diversity of faculties and characters is opposed to it. And follow-up. There are men, nevertheless, who believe it to be the remedy for all the ills of society. What do you think of them? And the spirits say they are framers of systems or moved by ambition and jealousy. They do not understand that the equality they dream of would be speedily broken up by the force of things. Combat selfishness, for that is your social pest, and do not run after chimeras. Wow. Okay, so I guess that selfishness, but have we combated that yet? Maybe not 100%. It seems like, I don't know, well, there's Hummers running around on the road, guzzling all the gas. I don't know. Seems like a lot of that is happening less and less, and more people are going towards non-fossil based fuels, which makes them a lot less selfish, right? I don't know. That's a crazy... I hope that's not true. That was 162 years ago. I hope that if we do get to a system that works of equally distributed income, I guess the force of things would be such that some people would only keep that amount of money and no more, and other people will actually work for more and gain more. And so then inequalities will still exist, and yet at the very base level of it, people will still be equal to other people at the very base level. It won't be like you have $300 a month and I have $1,000. We will all have $1,500 or $2,000 or whatever it be. I don't know. I'm a big proponent for BN, basic income. BN.org. You could go look that up. But I'm still like basic income, universal basic income. UBI is the best idea that's come along in a long, long time. And even though people think that they came up with it independently, it was actually in the 90s. It was actually maybe even before that, but it was in Neil Donald Walsh's book, Conversations with God, and God brought it up. And I feel like, though, in the 50s it was brought up, and I don't think that he knew about it. He was homeless, when he wrote that book, or he just newly not been homeless anymore or something. The Conversations with God movie is amazing, but I mean, people think it's a brand new idea. It's been around for a long time, but maybe we've been waiting for men to become less selfish, and by men I mean men and women. Damn it, I just did it. I hate that. I should say humans. Sorry, humans. Human. All right. Question 812. If equality of riches be not possible, is it the same in regard to well-being? And they say, oops. Dagnabbit, I just skipped ahead a couple pages. Oh, now I'm looking for it. There we go. The spirits say no, but well-being is relative, and everyone might enjoy it if men had arrived at a good understanding among themselves. For true well-being consists in employing one's time according to one's bent, and not in work for which one has no liking. And as each has different aptitudes, no useful work would be left undone. Equilibrium exists in everything. It is man who disturbs it. Follow-up question. Is it possible to arrive at this mutual understanding? And the spirits say, men will arrive at it when they practice the law of justice. Okay, so you guys remember when I told you that when you're doing what you love, you will become younger and younger and younger? Look at Billy Joe Armstrong, how gorgeous he is. After all these years, he's still like 30, even though he's just a couple years younger than me. But he hasn't aged. Hardly at all since he was in his 20s. He's doing what he loves. He's doing what he loves every single day with the people he loves doing it with. And they're all young too. Although the drummer looked like he was pretty significantly overweight when I saw him in concert. I was worried about his health, quite frankly. Maybe he's always been overweight and I didn't notice until I saw him in a tutu. Get that back down to a 1-1, baby. Hey, at least it wasn't a 4-4. But I don't know. But if you do what you love, you're going to be young, you know. And I'm doing what I love, and I've noticed that my hair is now starting to grow back its original copper color. It's incredible. I've been dyeing my hair for years, and now look, it's like it's gained better. Wow. Even today, I was noticing my hair is like, whoa. It's gained brighter. Overall, it's all the white hair is going away. By the time I meet my twin, I should be looking pretty damn young, doing what I love over here. So, I don't know, do what you love, guys. Not only will the money eventually follow, might take a couple years, but you will also, though, have true well-being. Because for true well-being consists in employing one's time according to one's bent, and not in work for which one has no liking. Don't do what you hate. Don't do what you don't like. Do what you love. Do what you love. Have faith. Okay, question 813. There are men who fall into destitution and misery through their own fault. Surely society is not responsible in such cases? And the question, and the answer is, from the spirits, they say, yes, we have already said that society is often the primary cause of such failures. And besides, is it not the duty of society to watch over the moral education of all of its members? Society often perverts their judgment through a bad education instead of correcting their evil tendencies. Hear, hear. Raising a glass to that one, had I had one. Okay. Trials of riches and of poverty. The next section. Question 814. It says, why has God? The big fish in the sky, God. Oh, these typos are hilarious. Why has God given wealth and power to some and poverty to others? And the spirits say, in order to try them in different ways. Moreover, as you know, it is the spirits themselves who have selected those trials under which they often succumb. Okay, question 815. Which of the two kinds of trial, poverty or riches, is the most to be dreaded by man? Like, really can figure that out on your own. Durr. Let's see what the spirits have to say about that. The spirits say they are equally dangerous. Poverty excites murmurings against providence. Riches excite to all kinds of excesses. I don't know, guys. I didn't blame God when I fell into hard times. You know, I asked God for help. I asked God to give me strength through those times, but I've never murmured against God, murmurings against providence. I've never done that. But riches excite to all kinds of excesses. And there might be cocaine involved. I've seen that happen in people. I'm not going to say who, but I've seen I mean, not firsthand, I don't have firsthand knowledge, but I've seen when you see a long-running TV show, for example, where people are really skinny and they look like starving artists in the first season, and the second season they're starting to gain their pallor again, they have better color, and by the third or fourth season they're like and their faces are red. And then maybe by the fourth and fifth season their bellies are kind of they've gained weight, they've aged quick, looks like they're eating too much and maybe have the wrong kinds of food, because probably 4 years ago they didn't have the money, they were probably starving, and they didn't have the money to eat right, let alone do drugs and have fun or drink alcohol. And I've noticed a lot of people in a lot of the sitcoms, especially from the 90s, that I mean, even the 80s, the 90s, in the early 2000s, even if you go back and you watch the ones that had a long run, like 11, 12, 13 years, look at those, even 8 years, go look at those and see the characters, look in their eyes. Are their eyes clear? Were their faces really skinny when they started and not when they ended? You know, or their tummies, or like their bodies, were they out of shape or in better shape? And some people, you know, some of the men in some of these old sitcoms I've noticed, they will be like really skinny in the beginning and kind of out of shape, but now that they can afford protein powder and visits to the gym, that they start to look pretty hunky towards the end. Ryan Reynolds is a good example of that, because in the beginning of his very first sitcom way back in the day, Is It Two Guys and a Girl, I think was it called, he was kind of good shape, kind of not, kind of out of shape. Now he's in excellent shape, right? And, you know, now he can afford the protein powder and the visits to the gym and a personal trainer and a personal nutritionist, right? Not that I know any of his lifestyle. I don't know if he does any of that, or if he just naturally got better with age. I don't know. But go back. It's funny if you guys go back and look at the actors and actresses. And I'm only giving them as example because you can't just go into random people's lives and see from the beginning to now, because you don't know, you know, like it's hard, you know, like with people who are actors, where they began and then where they ended up, you could kind of see the progression, and then the aging process takes over, and then they get families and, you know, and whatever. But just watch, it's so interesting to see it. So yeah, riches excite people to all kinds of excesses, and you could see it. I remember watching, I think it was Cheers, and I'm not going to say what character, but my mom's like, oh, you could totally tell she's on coke. I'm a coke addict. I'm an ex-coke addict, I know. And then like some other character comes on the set, oh, well, that person's totally an alcoholic. It's obvious, look at their nose. Only how red their nose is, even the makeup wasn't covering it. And it's like, oh my God, Mom, so judgmental. She's like, I'm just saying, I could see things that before I was an addict I couldn't see, and now I could see things, right? So I think that's kind of interesting. It's interesting to watch it, you know. Anyway, but yeah, no, that is true. I mean, if you have access to money and drugs, it's not always the best for your body. Okay, anyway, question 816. If the rich man has more temptations to evil, has he not also more ample means of doing good? And the spirits say, that is precisely what he does not always do. He often becomes selfish, proud, and insatiable. He wants increase with his fortune, and he never thinks he has enough, even for himself. You know what? I've seen people fall into that trap too. And I've seen billionaires give away billions because they don't really need it anymore. Once they realize, hey, I've conquered the world, I've done everything. You know, I've done everything. Now what do I do? A lot of people end up giving it all up and moving to India and following a path, you know, a spiritual path. You know, not a lot, but it does happen. Okay, here we go. And Allan Kardec says, worldly grandeur and authority over our fellow creatures are trials as great and as slippery as misfortune. For the richer and more powerful we are, the more obligations we have to fulfill, and the greater are our means of doing both good and evil. God tries the poor through resignation, and the rich through the use he makes of his wealth and power. Riches and power give birth to all the passions that attach us to matter. Ooh, that's true, isn't it? And keep us at a distance from spiritual perfection. That is why Jesus said it's easier for a camel to pass through the needle's eye than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Oh, good. He wasn't being judgmental about people with money. Wow. It's because people with money have more attachment to material things and at least temporarily turn towards the opposite direction of spirituality, right? I also feel though, if you have enough money, now you have time to meditate more. And that is a trend. There's a lot of very wealthy people who are very spiritual, and spiritual business practices have come into, it was kind of in vogue 10 years ago. And now it's becoming the norm in a lot of businesses, actually. They're very spiritually based. And then there's also the spiritual narcissists who turn around and I'm spiritual, so give me money, whatever. But, and then they tell you why you're wrong and why you need them and blah, blah, blah. And that's just such BS. But, you're going to naturally gravitate to the people that are going to give you the highest amount of spiritual, the spiritual advice will be the highest for you. I don't know, when you're ready, the teacher will appear type of thing. And that's why I'll tell you guys my truths, I'll tell you my things, but I'll also point you to other people who I think are very valid in what they're saying, according to me at least. I can only tell you what I think, obviously, and then you can listen to them go, they're full of crazy. I don't want to talk to that. I want to talk to the handle lane. I'm not interested in those people. But maybe you will find something in what I have to say. Maybe you'll find something in the people I point you towards. But I know who the spiritual masters are, and I talk about them a lot, and I tell you information from them because I feel I'm still on this journey as well, obviously. But yeah, so that is the first time I've ever heard that explained. It's easier for a camel to pass through a needle's eye than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. See, that's true though. If you get attached to material things and you lose sight of what's actually important, I can see how that would be harder to feel that joy and that peace inside. So, cool, we cracked that code. Moving right along. Equality of rights of men and of women. Still going through this in the United States even, as well as the whole world. Question 817. Are men and women equal in the sight of God, and have they the same rights? Oh my God, he finally said women. Okay. The spirits say, has not God given them both the knowledge of good and evil and the faculty of progressing? They sound kind of irritated. Maybe I read that in an irritating way. Answer my question with a question. Thank you, spirits. All right. Question 818. Whence comes the moral inferiority of women in some countries? And the spirits say, from the cruel and unjust supremacy which man has usurped over her. It is a result of social institutions and of the abusive exercise of strength over weakness. Among men, but little advanced morality, might is mistaken for right. Question 819. For what purposes is woman physically weaker than man? And the spirits say, in order that to her may be assigned certain special functions. Man is made for rough work, as being the stronger, women for gentler occupations, and both are differenced that they may aid each other in passing through the trials of a life full of bitterness. Thanks for that. Thanks for letting me feel unequal and having a lifetime of bitterness. Just thank you oh so much, universe. I mean, really? Trials of a life full of bitterness? Like, is it divinely ordained we're all going to have a life full of bitterness? Really? I'm sorry, but the only bitterness I want in my life is to be in my coffee cup. I'm looking for the sweetness in everything. Sorry. So sorry. Oh my God, that was like the weirdest answer. Gentler occupations. Women, so all the women listening right now, do you think it's a much kinder, gentler occupation that we give birth? Oh my God, that is more pain than when I broke my ankle, which I still suffer from every day. Having metal rods on my legs that tweak my leg in such a way that it's like always eking, my back is always off. Right? And I'm in pain every day, and it compares not a whit to giving birth, which is still fresh in my mind, and my oldest is going to be 20 this year. My youngest is going to be 18 this year. That is not something that you forget, but I do remember feeling like down there I was on frickin' fire. I felt like someone poured hot lava on me down there. That's how it felt. Gentler occupation, gentle, is that gentle? Ah, hell no, to quote Will Smith. No. Just, I don't accept that insane answer, sorry. Question 820. Does not a woman's physical weakness make her naturally dependent on man? That's a good question for 162 years ago. Let's see what the spirits have to say. Spirits say, God has given strength to one sex in order that it may protect the other, but not to reduce it to servitude. Oh my God. Right? Oh my God. You guys, I started watching this show, oh gosh, about this woman in Brazil. And she's from Sao Paulo, and she moves to Rio and opens up a nightclub in 1959. And she's trying to be a modern woman, right? She's trying to have rights equal to men. And it's like all the things that the women go through. Like one woman's husband is beating her because she sang in front of other people. And he thinks that her voice is his. He owns her. And it's just like, oh my God. It's like, it's weird. Like, I don't know. It's a good, I can't remember the name of the show. I'll mention it tomorrow if I could think of it. Unbelievable. All right. Allan Kardec, he says his own thoughts here. He says, God has fitted the organization of each being for the functions which it has to discharge. If God has given less physical strength to woman, he has at the same time allowed her with a greater amount of sensibility in harmony with the delicacy of the maternal functions and the weakness of the beings confided to her care. Okay, yeah. For those who choose to become mothers, yes, I agree with that. Again, with a kind of a sexist answer, but it was 162 years ago. So, yeah, it's okay, all right, fine. But you know what? There's a lot of men who have very much a loving heart with a lot of tenderness and care, and men are just as equal in the idea that they can be loving, gentle, beautiful human beings for their children. There's a lot of stay-at-home dads that are wonderful. And there's a lot of women who are just straight up ball busters, you know. They can run a company and be 100% at the top and play a man's game, the quote-unquote man's game. You know, just, I met men and women both. I've met really strong women who are very smart, strong and capable and confident and filled with muscles, and they will kick your ass. You get in their way. I mean, they're not violent people, but I mean, you know, just you just don't want to get in their way on any level, you know. And then I've met women the way that he describes, but I mean, what are the gentler professions? Do they mean, you know, when I read that, what came to my mind, the image was seeing at a frickin' spinning wheel. Making fabric and crap and needlepoint and sewing pillows and literally like a sewing circle idea came to my mind, is in arranging flowers. Like, we've come so far and yet we're still not equal. Do you want to be a nurse or a teacher or a flower arranger? Ooh. Do you want to sell makeup? Ooh. I mean, I don't know. Moving right along. Question 821. Are the functions to which women is destined by nature as important as those which are allotted to man? Answer is yes, and still more important, for it is she who gives him his first notions of life. Okay, this I cannot disagree with. Question 822. All men being equals according to the law of God, ought they also to be such according to the law of men? The spirits say, such equality is the very first principle of justice. Do not unto others what you would not that others should do unto you. Follow-up question. In order to be in order to be perfectly just, ought legislation to proclaim an equality of rights between men and women? And the spirits say, equality of rights, yes, but not of functions. Each should have a specified place. Let man busy himself with the outer side of life, and woman with its inner side. Each sex according to its special aptitude. Human law, in order to be just, should proclaim the equality of rights of men and women. Every privilege accorded to either sex is contrary to justice. The emancipation of woman follows the progress of civilization. Exactly. Her subjection is a condition of barbarism. The sexes, moreover, exist only through the physical organization. Since spirits can assume that of either sex, there is no difference between them in this respect, and they ought consequently to enjoy the same rights. Yeah, exactly. I mean, gender is only in our, gender sex, like what genitals you're born with. That's only in your physical body. Your soul, you might lean towards one or the other, but your soul is your soul. It's a force of light. It's a force of light. All right, let me see this next section. Do I have enough? Oh, yeah, we have enough time to read it, but I got to go quick. Yay, we did the whole chapter. That's cool. Equality in death. This was the interesting one to me. Question 823. Whence comes the desire of perpetuating one's memory by means of funeral monuments? That's a good question. And the spirits say, it is the last act of pride. And the follow-up question is, but is not the sumptuousness of funeral monuments more frequently due to the action of relatives, desirous to honor the memory of the defunct, rather than to the defunct himself? Defunct, oh my God. And the spirits say, in such cases, it is an act of pride on the part of relatives who desire to glorify themselves. For assuredly, it is not always for the one who is dead that all these demonstrations are made, but rather to gratify their own vanity by making an impression on others, and to parade their wealth. Do you imagine that the remembrance of their loved ones is less durable in the hearts of the poor, because the latter have no flowers to lay upon their graves? Do you imagine that marble can save from oblivion the name of him who has led a useless life upon the earth? All right, so that was weird. That was like a rather abrupt ending. I wasn't even at the end of the hour, but all of a sudden my tablet stopped functioning and it said it has to, like, the UI system isn't responding. Do you want to close it? And I was like trying to close it and I'm like, wait, what's happening? And I just had to, and then nothing worked and I had to reboot the whole thing. Thank God I was able to recover that audio. I thought it went pretty well, the second half of the show there, and I was getting ready to say goodbye. And I didn't want to just leave you guys hanging because some of you really like what I say at the end there. So what's really funny is right as I was like trying to reboot the whole thing, I look up and the clouds look like a devil. It was hilarious, like with horns and a beard and the whole thing. I was just like, whoa, that was, and then when I noticed that, a big strike of lightning hit. So I'm like, well, it's time to stop the show now. Yeah, and then I had a note saying unable to recover audio, and I'm like, oh my God. And then there was another thing that suddenly appeared, and it was that last section, and it said, wasn't uploaded. You want to retry? And it did. Thank you, God, for having my back. And now I look up and here's another goddess eye in the sky. So, okay, I'm good. That was just crazy. I don't know, man. I wish you guys could be here with me looking at this beautiful sky full of strange symbols and eyeballs and lizards and devils and also lots of stars and moons. It's very entertaining living here in the cloud forest. I never realized how entertaining it would be. Anyway, I wanted to thank you guys. Thank you for listening and all that good stuff. Thank you for being loyal and subscribing and all that. And also coming back tomorrow to hear what the show is going to be. At this moment, I know it's something to do with relationships tomorrow to conclude our Valentine's Day, Valentine's month, month of love special. I don't know what we're going to do yet, though. I'm still trying to formulate it in my mind. We've already talked about boundaries, and that's something that came up in the past week for me, so probably not going to do boundaries again. But if you have any questions about narcissism or boundaries, I did last year, in February, I did a series of 4 on, I think it was also on Tuesdays, I'm not sure now. But we talked about it because all that stuff is like very important. If you grew up in a household without boundaries, it's important to now learn how to establish them. And if you grew up in a family, which had a lot of boundaries, you end up in a relationship with someone who doesn't have boundaries, it won't make the relationship work until they learn how to establish boundaries. And it's very possible. But something like that came up for me over the weekend. Someone said something that freaked me out, and I mistook what he said, I guess, and he ended the friendship, which was weird. Especially when I explained exactly each detailed step of the way how he freaked me out and why. Virgo, me. But, so I'm still trying to figure out. I don't know what I'm going to do for tomorrow, but it will be something to do with relationships. Rest assured. We will come up with something good. I've gotten a lot of feedback about the relationship episodes, and a lot of people are saying, you know what, I have been absolutely helped. Or my friend listened to the show and she was helped. Like that really helped clarify things, It's like we go to school and we learn that 2 + 2 = 4, but we don't learn how to relate to each other, even though school's supposed to be the grand socialization, but we still don't know how to unravel the mystery of relationships. So I'm hoping we can get some clarification tomorrow with that. Anyway, that's it, guys. I love you. I'm gonna go. The thunders is rumbling the skies here, and it may or may not have been on the audio. I don't know. The lightning is not too far behind, and it's gonna start raining, which means it'll be hard for me to get a taxi. And my son and I, we need to go get some fruits and vegetables. So, we're going to go do a little bit of shopping in a few. So that's why I had to do this early. Get it done, get it out early. Yay! Anyway, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. And I'll be back tomorrow. But right now I'm signing off with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy 5th dimension. Until next time, guys, peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.